Oh, hi there, Internet. My name is the Schwantz27, or the Sick27, as you could probably hear from my voice. But it is time for another episode of Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide here on Speed Gaming. It is the open world randomizer for Final Fantasy VI, or maybe as people in North America know it, as Final Fantasy III. So we're going to have an awesome race for you tonight on the cards. We have two runners, Hefe01 and Drinks2. Both of these racers opted to draft their own flags for this particular seed. So I'm going to go through the draft with you, and I'm going to also talk to you about what the heck even is a Worlds Collide randomizer, and then we'll get started. So the objective in Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide is to unlock and defeat Final Kefka. And as you see on Hefe's screen, to unlock Final Kefka, we need to get to 18 checks. So that's what the gold number next to that little Esper count is going to be, 18. Normally, you have to get a certain amount of Espers and a certain number of characters for Kefka unlock, but our drafters decided to go with 18. They also decided to do a Kefka Tower skip at 20, but it was supposed to be 22, so we got to program our draft bot to math properly. I know math is very hard, even for a bot. The other objective that we have in this flag set is if we end up with Terra, which we do not have to start, we can get a Imp set, so that's the Imp Halberd and all the Imp armor, by completing the Leet River check. So those are our three objectives. The other options include a set of empowered characters, so that is between 110% and 140% of their stats of the original values there. The chests are completely 100% randomized, so we are going to find some really nice items in chests. That's one of the things in Worlds Collide that is randomized, so we'll talk about that when I talk about what is even Worlds Collide. We are going to start off with Shadow with Throw, and we're going to start off with Mog with Jump. So that makes that Imp set at the end of the Leet River all the more appealing, because we already have somebody that starts with the Jump command. The commands are random with potential for duplicates, other than those two starting characters that I mentioned, and we are going to get a random third starting character with a random command. So as far as enemies go, the enemy scaling will be tough. So they will gain 2.5 levels for each character, Esper and Dragon. And that is, so we start off at level 8 for our enemies, because we are at level 3. So we're going to have to try and figure out a way to get off of level 3 to fight back at some of these particular enemies. There is also a Y NPC set to remove, which basically allows us to delete NPCs out of the way. This has some ramifications in terms of sequence breaking, and I'll go over that when I talk about what is Worlds Collide. But basically, we can yeet some characters out of the way, which is always fun. And those are our options for this particular set of flags and drafts beyond the standard ones. What Worlds Collide does is it basically takes a lot of things about the Final Fantasy VI game and randomizes them. The items in chests, the items in shops, the locations of the bosses, the characters you acquire, the Espers that you get, the spells that those Espers teach you, the bonuses that are on there, lots of different cool stuff. Can be randomized, and it will be randomized, as I mentioned earlier. One of the interesting things about Worlds Collide as a randomizer is that we have this concept called character gating, where the places that you can go to in the world are based on what characters you have acquired. So in this case, we know we're going to get Shadow and Mog. Shadow unlocks 5 different checks in 3 different locations. He unlocks Gal Manor, where you recruit him in vanilla. He also unlocks the Veld Cave in the World of Ruin, where you find him lying on the ground. And he also unlocks the Floating Continent, which is a 3-part check. Mog unlocks 2 different checks. The Lone Wolf, where you have to chase the wolf all the way up the mountain, and the Moogle Defense at the very start of the beginning of the game, where Terra falls down and the Moogles come help you. That is another location that Mog unlocks for us. And we're going to get a 3rd random character. As I mentioned, there is an option in this race called Why NPC Remove. So basically all of the gates, or not all of them, but some of the gates and doors that block off certain areas due to the character gating system that I mentioned earlier can be removed. So they treat some of the doors and gates as NPCs. So that allows us to sequence break into other characters' areas. One of the areas that we could break into is the Narsh in the World of Ruin, because those are all locked doors until we get the character locked. So we could just remove the door out of the way and get access to the Esper item at the Narsh weapon shop. We get a choice there. Access to the Curse Shield. We also get to remove the Rustrid door from Mount Zozo. And we also get to remove some of the doors that take us all the way down to the Ancient Castle, which should be a heck of a lot of fun. So even though we do have character gating, we do have a bit of a wide open race as it comes to what options we're going to have here. And it looks like we have gotten started. We are also joined by Sword Tech Celeste, which will be really cool. We could showcase off the new and improved Sword Tech ability for Worlds Collide. The bar goes much faster than it does in vanilla, so that this way you're basically not waiting for your antivirus to load every single time you want to use that particular option. So there you see Lone Wolf getting triggered on Drink's Glue's side, and also on Hefe's side, Ragnarok and a big shield in a chest already, and a snow muffler, and a merit award. Wow. So those are 4 great items out of the 6 chests there. And that's what happens when you have 100% randomized chests, is sometimes those bad chests that you get in the vanilla game are replaced with really, really good items. So the first 5 to 10 minutes of a Worlds Collide seed is usually looting and shopping just to see what is around the world and what your team can acquire. We do know that based on the equipable item pool, that our characters can equip the things that they can equip in the vanilla game, and there's a 33% chance that they can equip something that they could not normally equip in the vanilla game. So the Ragnarok can be equipped by Celeste in the vanilla game, but there's a chance that some of our other characters can equip that. There's a Genji Glove relic in a shop there that allows us to put an item in each hand. So if you want extra offense, Drink's Glue is looking to get that right away because he's got enough cash on hand, as well as a Hyper Wrist that will bump up your strength stat. The other things that we're looking for is Hefe picks up a couple of water edges. So the other things we'd be looking for in shops, since we do have throw with Shadow, we do want to get something like some stars or some elemental skeins that we can throw at some mobs to get rid of them rather quickly. So in case you're just joining us here, we're doing a draft seed, and as I mentioned, we have to get to 18 checks in order to get Kefka Tower skip. Or rather, in order to get to unlock Kefka's Towers, there's an offering and a set of Tiger Fangs in a chest there as well. Lots of great items showing up early on for these 2 runners here. So that's the number you see in gold underneath the Espers. Normally, you have to have a certain number of characters and a certain number of Espers in order to unlock Kefka. However, with this particular set of options, we're unlocking them with chests. So... not chests, checks. So that's why I decided, hey, we're going to throw 18 down there to keep track of how many checks we've got. Returner's Hideout does have a shop with just items in it, and it does have 9, I think, treasure chests in here. Unfortunately, we cannot get into the Leet River yet because we do not have Terra. Terra unlocks that particular check. Otherwise, you have to wait behind her. Hefe, meanwhile, is heading through the World of Balance South Figaro, so there is a lot of chests here on the outside of town and in the basement. The ones on the outside of town you can also get in the World of Ruin. They're not shared. However, the ones in the basement you can only get one. And it looks like Drink's Glue is heading to Galmatter, picking himself up a Genji shield. So that is his first check off the board right there. So that's pretty easy. That's one from Shadow. And checks can either reward a character or an Esper or a high-tier item. And a high-tier item is considered a dead check normally in our normal terms. As you see shurikens and bolt edges in that shop there, so Hefe stocking up on a bunch of those for his shadow. So in this seed, dead checks are not really going to be a problem, just simply because we are going to need to get to 18 of them. Doesn't matter which checks they are, in order to unlock and defeat Final Kefka. Meanwhile, still going through some shopping. I can't speak. Apparently, me being sick also means I can't think and speak at the same time. Alright, so we'll see if Hefe decides to head it down into the basement. So there are 13, 14, something like that, chests down in the basement. And with the setting of having chests at 100% random, chests are way more valuable than shops here. Dr. DT asking in chat what the draft options were. So I'll give you the short version if you want to click on the link that is in the chat. You can certainly go. Another high-tier item with the Atma weapon. So basically we start with Throw Shadow and Jump Mog. We unlock Kefka at 18 checks. We unlock Kefka Tower Skip at 20 checks. Should be 22 rather. But there's apparently a bug in the program somewhere. As we get Locke down at the South Figaro basement, so that is one of Bless's checks, and that's another character for ourselves. I don't know what ability he had. He was just immediately inserted into the party. I don't know if somebody else in the chat caught what ability he had on him. Some of the other options here include 100% random chests, a slightly higher scaling on the enemies. They are 2.5 times your characters plus Espers plus dragons, and they top out at 50 instead of 40, which is what we're normally used to. Commands are random, so they may be duplicates, and we have a Celeste with sword tech to start, so that's her random command. And we also have access to YNPC removed in order to potentially sequence break into some checks like the Narsh Weapon Shop, or Edgar's checks, or Mount Zozo. Didn't see the runners go to World of Ruin Narsh yet, but that is certainly an option for them. And Glue is going out the other way. Maybe he saw something in a shop. Oh no, he wants to pick up the reward now. So he actually didn't pick it up, and that's Locke with Throw as well. Oh goodness. So yes, he must have skipped picking up Locke, because I thought I would have caught that. So that's his second check, so that's what that number 2 is by the Esper count there. And now we got to go pick up some more throwables. And we don't need to sequence break into the weapon shop because we have Locke. Locke also will give us the Phoenix Cave check, and will also give us the World of Balance South Figaro Cave check. Celeste, meanwhile, will give us the South Figaro Prisoner spot, which we've already seen from both of our runners. The Opera House Disruption, where Ultros goes to go throw the weight on the people down below, and unlocks the Magitech Factory, which is a 3-part check. So interesting thing about having checks for Final Kefka is there's a second Cozy Snow Muffler. Interesting thing about having checks unlock Final Kefka is some places in the world have more than one check associated with them, as there's a cursed ring in the shop. I almost always pick one of those up because it will teach X-Zone, and you never know if you're going to get access to instant death in your seed or not. So an area like the Phoenix Cave, as Andrew points out in the chat, is actually way more beneficial in this flag set than in others, because you can get the check from the actual area with the item at the end, but killing the dragon inside of Phoenix Cave also counts as a check. So it's technically 2 checks, 1 location. Curse shield count is 9. We'll see if our runners decide to do that, and we are going to pick up another Esper there with Crusader, so that is Blue's 3rd check here. Don't really have a great way of marking down Espers, so you're going to have to trust me when I say that that is the first Esper. So it remains to be seen what our runners will be doing once they actually settle into the seed after all of these quote-unquote free checks, where you don't have to fight any random encounters for them. Yeah, so the black belt relic will not automatically, it will counterattack if attacked at certain times. So it's a good one to have if you have somebody swinging, let's say, a Ragnarok that we do have here. Hefe, meanwhile, going to head over to the world of Ruined Narsh, going to check out that Cursed Shield. I did not see if we picked up a ribbon or peace ring yet, so the Cursed Shield basically inflicts the Berserk and Confused status on your character, so your character will be hitting himself. However, if you use a Heal Rod, as both of our runners are doing, this is one of my favorite Cursed Shield strategies, is if you put the Cursed Shield on a Heal Rod user, that user in your party will basically just constantly hit your own party, but with the Heal Rod, they'll be healing your party instead of hurting your party. How nice. Thank you, Mog, for your contributions. The only problem is Mog has the jump command, and there is a potential that he may jump up in the air with that Heal Rod, and that'll be kind of weird. So yeah, Heal Rod Curse Shield strategies are some of my favorites. Hefe picking up his second check of the match there. He actually did not go and see what the Esper was in the Narsh weapon shop. He only went for the Curse Shield. That's a little surprising. Yeah, Berserk Mog just looks slightly angrier than everybody else. I don't really know why. Maybe it's the huge contrast of the entire red body of Mog. Meanwhile, Drinks Glue showing off that you could loot the outside chest in both of the South Figuros, in the World of Balance and the World of Ruin. Hefe, meanwhile, having a little indecision as to where he wants to go. It looks like he's going to be parking himself outside of South Figaro Cave. He may take off the Moogle Charm to do some grind fights. So with Worlds Collide, we give our runners 3 Moogle Charms to start, and the Moogle Charm will allow you to avoid all of those pesky random encounters. So you can either leave it on in order to get the random encounters, or you can you can leave it on to skip the random encounters, or you can take it off and allow yourself to run into some enemies in order to get some levels. Hey, here's the problem with putting the the Heal Rod on Mog, who's jumping, is now he's taken off, and we got to wait for him to get back down, and then the AT bead bar to fill up once again, and it's a mess. So Hefe decides, I'm going to take the reset instead because I only took 4 steps. Marble Shoes is the worst best relic in the game. I am never happy to see Marble Shoes. I'd rather have almost anything else. Okay, maybe not almost anything else, but... Glue having the same strat here as Hefe, taking off the Moogle Charm, getting a little bit luckier with this first encounter here with these bears. So for Drinks Glue, since he has 1 Esper and 4 characters, his enemies are going to be at level 12.5, 13, 14, something like that. Yeah, the thing with the Marble Shoes is that they do give you lots of good positive statuses. They give you haste, they give you regen, they give you shell, and they give you safe. So that's 4 of them. But in Worlds Collide, you'd almost rather replace most relics with something that will either increase your offensive ability or nullify out some sort of elemental damage. So Atlas Armlets, Earrings, Hero Rings, Hyper Wrists, stuff like that is usually preferred. Offering Genji Glove, as we've already seen. And then as far as defensive relics go, quote-unquote, there's Blizzard Orbs and Rage Rings, which give you resistances to some elementals. So those are the types of relics we normally see with Worlds Collide. We do have Mog, who has Jump. And Jump is very adversely, or no, that's not the right word. It complements Jump very well. because jump is based on your speed, because the quicker you can get down, the quicker the damage you can do. Meanwhile, Drinks Glue running into those magic urns, which do not give any experience, but do give out some NP for him to learn some of these spells. Meanwhile, Hefe took some grind fights that outside of the cave, then took a save, and is now heading into the cave. This is a popular spot for early game grinding because there is a healing pond at the end of this check. So even if you don't have lock, sometimes runners will go in or around this particular area so that they can do their battles and then heal up without having to waste things like sleeping bags or potions or tonics or whatever. We do have two characters with Throw, so that sort of trivializes a lot of fights. Throw is one of the most powerful abilities in the entire game. Basically, it allows you to do double damage to characters from the back row, essentially, with Throw. The downside being that you lose the item that you're throwing, but if you buy cheap shurikens or, elemental skeins, then you'll be alright. And the first boss here is Sriracha Behemoth. SR Behemoth, Super Behemoth, Senor Behemoth, Sir Behemoth, Scrumpian Behemoth. Whatever type of behemoth you want, you let me know in the chat. But that is who we're fighting first. And in Worlds Collide, the bosses have the same elemental weaknesses and boss scripts as they do in vanilla, with a caveat, is that sometimes the spells that they throw at you will be scaled based on their scaling. So SR Behemoth does a lot of ice spells in the vanilla game. So at this low level, he would probably do regular ice instead of ice 2 or ice 3. Sriracha Behemoth sounds tasty. Seraphim Behemoth, Senor Behemoth, Scrambled Behemoth, and the Behemoth Supreme, my favorite way to have a crunch wrap. As Hefe gets through the fight just slightly faster, that's what happens when you get a flare proc from your Ragnarok sword. And that is another check down for both of our runners. Hefe at 3 checks. Drinks Glue at 4 checks. Hefe, meanwhile, forgetting to put his Moogle Charm back on after this fight, so he's going to get another grind fight here, which is fine. So, question for the chat. Our Curse Shield count is at 9 for the night. Is that something that you would do or would not do? Both of these runners are going to be trying to unlock the Curse Shield. They did have a heal rod on hand, which certainly does help, but there is a ribbon there in the relic shop, and it looks like Glue's going to pass it up. So I think, me personally, 9 is probably about the limit that I would do without, even with a ribbon or a peace ring to negate that berserked aspect. It's a little more palpable with the heal ring, but you essentially just basically take one of your characters out of the fight intentionally. Obviously situational, most people are agreeing with our runners to go uncurse that shield with this party, having access to Throw, and Hefe is heading up to the floating continent, which is an option that you can do from the airship. This is one of Shadow's checks. This is a 3-part check, and this is a rather lengthy check, so Hefe will see you back on the ground in about 10 minutes or so, buddy. There are 3 force encounters and then 2 bosses before the first save point. You do get a heal between the first and the second boss, which is really, really nice. And these enemies are going to be pushovers, so this is a really good way to get some XP early. Now, in normal flag sets, Floating Continent is appealing because both the first spot and the last spot are guaranteed to be a character in Esper. In this particular set of options, in this flag set, we just need to get to 18 checks. So this perhaps is not the fastest way to get to 18 checks. However, the amount of levels that you'll accrue with these sets of characters will definitely allow you to defeat fights easier, right, and faster. And that's what Worlds Collide is all about. It's basically a DPS race. Can I kill things faster than they can kill me? Kirksey also mentioning in the chat, and you just see that the Paladin Shield is now available. This also will suffice in uncursing the shield, because you do have to fight all these battles. There's no way out of it. Oh, a level 50 magic. This is one of the only level 50 or the level magics that actually is undead. So if you have a Revivify or a Phoenix down, you might as well throw it on this. You don't get any XP from this fight, but you do get MP. So if Drinks Glue wanted to, he could have ended that fight basically right away there. So unlike in the vanilla game, the Paladin Shield does not teach Ultima in this particular set of options. However, it is still the best defensive item in the entire game. Will absorb 4 elements and nullify 4 elements, so your characters are kind of invincible at that point. And here is Fun Baba. This floating green tank, basically, who skipped leg day every day. And he's the first of 2 bosses here. We'll basically counter everything with lightning spells. So thankfully we do have that Paladin Shield, which will absorb lightning. And we're going to try and throw some not lightning spells at Funbaba. Oh no, Shadow is down. And in Final Fantasy VI, if your characters are down, they will not get experience from the fight at the end of the fight. I don't think we had access to any poison spells or poison rods, but that is the weakness of Funbaba. It ain't easy being green, as Kermit would say. We also know that our characters picked up an Atma weapon, or our runners rather, picked up an Atma weapon. So having a Paladin Shield with an Atma weapon is incredibly powerful because it allows you to keep your HP at its maximum, which is where Atma weapon will do its most damage. So having that, as a possibility for a build also sort of increases the incentive to uncurse the shield there. And here comes a floating painting with Chatternook. So Chatternook, similarly to Funbaba, will basically counter everything with a lightning spell. Is weak to Pearl and Fire. However, you can't hit the girl form, you need to hit the demon form. So we have to wait here until this boss switches over to the correct form. And then once she starts to, you can send your characters on their way at her. Glue just a few seconds behind here, and I'm guessing that is because Mog is still uncursing that shield. He also had Shadow take a snooze. And you do get a story heal between these 2 bosses, so even though Shadow had 40 HP, surprise, surprise, he's got 500 now. So based on the HP totals of both of our runners, I think they're at the exact same levels and they've done the exact same things so far. Lots of opportunity for divergence still, though, as we do have the Magitech Factory a little bit later on is another very time investment of a check. And we have the Phoenix Cave, as I mentioned earlier, which is a bit on the longer side. However, with needing to unlock Kefka at 18 checks, it might be more palpable because we could actually do 2 checks in there. We can do the Phoenix Cave reward at the very end, and we can go kill the dragon, which counts as a check. I didn't see our runners pick up any earrings or anything like that to help boost their magical damage, so these fights are taking a little bit here. Glue having access to those fire skeins, though, allows him to catch up that time, as fire is one of the weaknesses there of Chatternook, and we have pretty much simultaneous boss kills here on our screen, and we'll see what's waiting for us down on the floating continent here. We do already have an offering in the inventory, so I don't foresee our runners picking up the monster in a box here, as it is another Esper for our runners with Ifrit, so that is Glue's 3rd and Hefe's 2nd. We do have 4 total checks for Hefe and 5 total checks for Drinks Glue. So since we have YNPC set to remove, we could actually yeet the second boss on the floating continent. We won't get the reward, but we also don't have to fight him if we don't want to. And we could actually yeet the last boss on the floating continent, but we will get the reward. And it is Katana Soul here in this monster in a box, so if we wanted yet another offering and a butt ton of money, this is where you would need to go. Unfortunately, we do not have access to any Muddle or Stray or Sourmouth or anything that will confuse. However, we do have Poison, which is one of the weaknesses of Katana Soul. So very nice. Hefe pulling out the Poison spell here. The Poison spell will do a lot of damage over time to Katana Soul. Katana Soul does not give any XP, but will give us 25 MP, a ton of money, and that offering relic, which, we do already have one. However, we do have an Atma weapon build that could use it later on. Yeah, so Poison, the spell, will inflict Poison, the status, and there you see the 510 damage tick from that Poison, the status. So both Poison and Bio will inflict that same status that will drain HP over time. So that's why it's very powerful on Katana Soul, because he has a lot of stamina, and the poison damage is based on your stamina stat and your total HP. So getting a cool almost 30,000 GP for that fight there from Hefe. Set him a little bit behind, but if he's maybe perhaps going to buy the Tizen Thief at a later time or head over into the auction house in order to get his checks knocked off the board, that is certainly one way to do it. Meanwhile, the second boss here on the right-hand side of the screen for Drinks Glue is Vargas and the Apple Toilets, the Ipoos, and the Bears went down pretty fast from some elemental schemes, and Vargas normally has pretty high HP, but we have a very powerful group here. So that's another check for Drinks Glue. He gets the Starlit Esper, so that's his third. Magic power +1 rather on that Esper. Going to throw that on Celeste, because Celeste not only has the ability to cast some magic, but has the Ragnarok, which if it procs the Flare spell, will do even more damage. And thank you, Dr. DT, for clarification in the chat. So the question was regarding, does poison compound? And the answer is yes, it gets worse over time. Whereas the sap or seizure status does not. It's just a flat rate of damage for the entire duration of the fight. So you'll see that on some moves like Slip Hit or some of the other enemy just random abilities that they have. Yep, so thank you, Dr. DT, for the clarification. And we've got 2 random encounters and 1 last boss here on the final part of the floating continent. If I am Drinks Glue, I'm thinking about just YNPC removing this boss. Unless the Espers that he has are trying to teach him a spell that he needs to learn. Because you can actually YNPC remove the little star at the end of the floating continent, but still get the reward. And it looks like he is going to fight it anyway, and it's hiding in the Hide Knights, everybody's favorite bebop band from Final Fantasy VI. Yeah, I am feeling a little sick. It's not COVID. I took a test earlier today. I think it's just allergies. My head feels like somebody is crushing it from multiple sides. So that's always fun. Oh, Fire 3 on that Ifrit. Okay. So maybe that's why Drinks Glue wants to take this fight here. That is a very powerful spell. We also have access to Life 2 on Shiva. So that's really nice to have some good safety there. Yeah, so speaking of poison, Haydn will counter most things with poison attacks. Is weak to Fire and Pearl and Earth, believe it or not. I don't think we have any Earth spells, though. It's a surprising lacking element here in Final Fantasy VI. There you go, getting some Fire 3, getting some Strength +2 from some of the Esper bonuses for our people with Throw, or maybe Celeste, who has the Ragnarok. And that's an Imp Sprite jumping off, so we're going to get a Magicite here. That is Carbuncle, and that is Glue's 7th check down. So it looks like Glue is heading straight from one 3-part check into another. The Magitech Factory. Now, there is a little shed inside of Vector, as we see Muddle and Berserk are the spells on that Esper. So that'll be nice as a safety to have. Again, don't really need the Muddle since we found the Katana Soul already, although there are some bosses that we can muddle. And Berserk is especially good for a few very annoying bosses, including Magimaster and the Gold Dragon. So there is a little shed inside of Vector, and the lady asks you to pledge your allegiance to the Empire, and of course you say, nah, fam, I'm good. And that will allow you to get into a forced encounter. After that forced encounter, however, if you talk to the woman again, she will give you a free heal. So I usually like to use that as both a spot to level up my characters a little bit and to get myself a heal after a fight. So Glue is heading into the Magitech Factory, which is a 3-part check. The first 2 parts can only reward an Esper or an item, and the 3rd part comes after the minecart ride of 3 forced encounters and 2 bosses, and that will be either an Esper or an item. I'm not sure about doing both of these 3-part checks here, because again, remember, we need 18 checks in order to unlock Kefka. And yeah, we'll be pretty powerful if we do both of these 3-part checks, but does the time investment into those 3-part checks warrant us to go all the way through them, or would it be better off if we did much shorter checks? And we got a zombie Celeste. Thankfully, we've got some Revivify on hand. Yeah, both of our runners deciding to go after this boss here at the end. I know they both know that YNPC remove is on. Maybe they don't know that this is one of the things they can do with YNPC remove. It's hard to keep track of all of the intricacies, words are hard, of of Worlds Collide sometimes. Meanwhile, it's the Dream Stooges here for the first fight at Magitech 1. We already took care of the top Stooge, the Fire Stooge, who can heal and bring the others back to life. Then that was the Lightning Stooge with the yellow suit on, and then the Ice Stooge, Larry, with the blue suit on. Can be instant death, or he can run away sometimes if you're taking too long to kill the boss. But he just got destroyed there. And that is check number 6 for Hafe and number 8 for Drinks Glue, with another Magicite for Glue. What's odd in this flag set, Life 2, Merton, and Cure 2. So I don't think we have the elemental protection for Merton just yet, but that's an interesting one. Is Hefe here talking to the classroom guy, shut up, dude, let me get into the healing bucket. Yeah, I would think that with this set of options where you need to get to a certain amount of checks in order to unlock Kefka, I'd want to do the ones that are as quick as possible. Which do not include Floating Continent Magitech, but that is why I am here, because maybe I'm feeling a little loopy. Why our runners are running their race. Meanwhile, it's our Dabbing Yeti over at the second part of the Magitech Factory, so you know what to do, chat. Umaro, as most Sasquatches you would imagine, is weak to fire. So last fire scheme here coming from Drinks Glue. Doesn't need it with that flare proc. There we go. Hefe, meanwhile, going up to the top of Narsh to do Mog's check. So this is Lone Wolf. This is it will be when the next update of Worlds Collide is released. This will be considered a free check in the future version of Worlds Collide. So if you have that no free progression flag on, that will only reward you a high tier item. In this case, we get a choice between a cat hood and something else, and that something else is another Atma weapon. So Hefe getting another Atma weapon to go with his second offering that he picked up on the floating continent there. Meanwhile, Drinks Glue gets another Esper and nopes out of the last part of the Magitech factory. I'm in agreement with that. I think that that's a good play. The last part of the Magitech factory is rather long and arduous. And in most normal cases, I can understand it because you're guaranteed to get something out of it. You're guaranteed a character or Esper. But in this flag set with 18 checks, it is not one of the faster checks. Dr. GT also mentioning in the chat that if you go and get the cat hood, which is in the World of Ruin Narsh in the mines, so for those of you that don't know, the item that you don't pick at Lone Wolf will show up in the World of Ruin Narsh. You just go back to where the Moogles are, and you confront Lone Wolf, and he will give you the item that you didn't pick. That also counts as a check, so that's pretty fast, and you can warp out of there. That is the Madeline Esper for Drinks Glue, so he's already up to check number 11 there. Hefe already using the Atma weapon with the offering. Unfortunately, it doesn't do as well until you get to level 32, just due to the way the damage formula on the Atma weapon works. And this is number 24, so we don't need to bust out the Berserk yet. Drinks Glue, meanwhile, heading over to the Opera House, and this is the World of Ruin Opera House. I thought he might have been going to the World of Balance Opera House with Celeste, but he's heading to the World of Ruin and is going to fight this dragon, which counts as both a dragon and a check. Dragons will drop a high tier item, give you a bunch of XP, 50 magic points for you to learn some spells, and their vanilla drop, which is usually a pretty good item. In this case, for the Ice Dragon, it's the Force Armor, Force Shield, one of those two. I don't remember which is which. The Storm Dragon drops the other thing, that's the Force something or other. Meanwhile, Hefe picking up Tritalk, and I'm bad at counting, because that is his 8th check there. And surprise, surprise, he's teleported down to Arvis's house. And this is where the Lone Wolf Moogle defense is. So, very nice combo of checks here from Hefe, since these are all in one particular area. Alright, that is an economizer for Glue. Not really what you wanted to see, but that is another check down. Question from the chat. So if Lone Wolf is a character and you pick the item instead, yes, the character will be there at the back of the mines instead of Lone Wolf. So if you really need the item that Lone Wolf is holding on to, you could totally do that. You just won't have access to the character right away. And you know, sometimes you say it's better the devil you know, right? So if you know that that item is something you really need, and Lone Wolf doesn't tell you what the other item is, sometimes you're going to want to pick that. Oh, speaking of picking that, Experience Egg in a chest there in Mount Zozo. So this is something that Drinks Glue got into by sequence breaking, because we do not have access to Cyan. We just threw open the Rust Rid door, and we are now in Mount Zozo. It is kind of too bad that we are already, 40 minutes into the seed. This party is at level like 29 or so. So that Experience Egg is not going to have as much impact as it would have had earlier in the seed. However, we're racing against the person on the other side of the screen who does not have that Experience Egg. So it is an advantage either way. And as I mentioned, Mount Zozo has 2 different checks here in one spot. It's got this dragon here, and it has the item, or Esper, or character, that's awaiting writing some love letters. So, regarding Lone Wolf, I will sometimes pick up the item, as you see Drinks Glue using Berserk on the Gold Dragon here. That's some good heads-up vanilla gameplay knowledge. That means that the Gold Dragon won't cast any of those thunder spells that are definitely hurting his team. And Hefe gets sneezed away by myself, Chupon, here at the end of the Moogle defense. And he gets a Magicite for his troubles, so he's up to 9 checks now. Very efficient routing there. And that, I believe, is another dragon down for Drinks Glue. So regarding Lone Wolf, if I know that I don't need that particular character, like let's say my party is set, right? And I go up to Lone Wolf and I see a character, and there's something really juicy, like an Illumina, that is what Lone Wolf is hanging on to, then what I will do is I will go and just grab the item, and then I'll go back later and grab whatever it is that Lone Wolf is hanging on to. So in the world of Ruin Narsh, not only do we have the Moogle caves here, which is where Hefe may go. Hefe has not done the Narsh weapon shop yet, so this is going to be a check for him as well here. That's check number 10 for him. He also can go up to Tritok, and that is a non-character gated location. And he can also do the dragon. So there's actually 4 different checks for Hefe here in this part of the world. So Narsh being a hotspot, at least for our party here, with Mog, and having access to essentially 7 checks total between the 2 Moogle defenses, Kefka and Narsh, Tritok, and then the 2 Lone Wolf, rather. 2 Lone Wolf, Kefka and Narsh, Tritok, the dragon up here, the weapon shop, and the Moogle defense. Esper for Drinks Glue at the end of Mount Zozo, so that is his 13th check. Now, it's too bad we don't have Terra, because Terra, we can also yeet the boss out of the way at the top of Zozo. And it looks like Glue is also going to do the World of Ruin Narsh bundle here, but he's not bundling it with potentially doing the Moogle mines. Glue has slightly higher levels. I think that's attributable to the fact that he's done a few more checks. And he's also got that experience egg on, too. Check number 11 for Hefe. So here's a question for chat. We don't have to have a specific character requirement for Kefka's Tower. However, doing a 1-character path in Kefka's Tower is a bit dicey. It's a bit interesting, to say the least. Because that 1 character has to wear the Moogle Charm, so you're cutting down on one of the relics that they could be potentially using. And there is no concept of split damage, right? So bosses, in case you don't know, Worlds Collide, if there's more than 1 party member, they will do half damage to everybody. If you only have 1 character alive, you'll get the full damage of the spell. So it's an interesting conundrum that we can discuss for a little bit here. Obviously, you'd like to get to 6 characters, but I also feel like I don't need to go looking for characters at this point when I have just plenty of fast checks to do. As that is dragging down a piece for both of our runners here. Bringing Hefe's total up to 12 with that Illumina now. So Drinks Glue is going to get a 2nd Illumina. When it rains, it pours, I guess. We did... I don't remember who bought the Genji Glove. I don't remember if it was Hefe that bought the Genji Glove or Drinks Glue that bought the Genji Glove at the beginning of the match. However, that is looking mighty tasty right now with access to 2 Illuminas. Speaking of tasty, go follow our runners. That's an all-time transition right there, if I ever heard one. It's too bad that that dot command didn't work. Follow our commentary crew? Nope. Doesn't want to do that either. Alright, so Hefe not getting the item from the other lone wolf, and that's fine. He might feel like he needs to get some more levels, and getting that item will not get him more levels. So he's going to head here into the Velt Cave, which is one of Shadow's checks. It's pretty quick. We can see what the reward is at the back, but again, we just want checks. We don't really care what the reward is. And this will dump us out at World of Ruin Thamasa when we are done. So Atma Weapon Offering coming out, as well as Genji Glove with a Illumina and Ragnarok for Drinks Glue. Little does he know that... Oh no, he already defeated the dragon. So he knows already that he's going to get another Illumina. Meanwhile, that is Esper number 10 for Drinks Glue. And Hefe is looking at Esper number 9 on the ground here to fight Niles and Fraser the Cranes. Both are weak to water. The left one absorbs lightning, and the right one absorbs fire. Alright, let's see if that works. Nope. Alright, another check down. Another Esper down. Alright, chat, so where the heck are our characters? I'll give you all the options that we know of right now. So our character has to be at either Phoenix Cave or Magitech Factory number 3 or the Opera House Disruption. So let us know if we're even going to go to one of those checks, which check it will be for our 5th character, and what 5th character will it be. I am hoping for Gao at Opera House, because Gao could be fancy, right? Fancy Gao is a thing. He can put on a tux, he can dress up nice, he cleans up well. Question in chat, yeah, you can just fight dragons if you want for the rest of the seed. But again, as I mentioned earlier, there is always that conundrum of only having 4 characters in Kefka's Tower. And that's check number 16, I believe, for Drinks Glue there. We got Phoenix Cave, we got Opera House Realm. Opera House Gao is where it's at. Alright, have they taken on another dragon here at the Opera House? There are 2 dragons in Kefka's Tower, and the Atma spot counts as a dragon as well. I mean, counts as a check, rather, sorry. So if you want, you can basically send a party of 2 to fight the dragon and to fight Atma. But therein lies part of the problem with, you know, trying to do the shenanigans with Kefka's Tower with only party of 4, right? Is that you have to use a party of 2. You can't use more characters than that to clear that out. Dragons cannot reward characters. Meanwhile, Glue, unfortunately, not getting past the 1 soldier here. So he's going to have to fight a couple of these landworms before getting to the real boss. And there's another dragon down for Hefe here. So that's his 14th check, so he is just slightly behind Drinks Glue here. Glue, however, getting caught up at Kefka Narsh. And if he does Kefka Narsh and then Moogle defends, he will be at Kefka's Tower. Now, Kefka Tower skip is at 20 checks. It was supposed to be 22. There's a bug in the code, so we'll have to go fix the bug. So I'm assuming that our runners are going to go for the skip with 20 checks. Yeah, so based on the checks that we have left, I don't know if we're going to see a 5th character. Because Drinks Glue is definitely not going back to Magitech Factory. That's just not happening, because he already went there and warped out. So his options, for us anyway, for the all-seeing eye, are Opera House Disruption, which is very slow, and Phoenix Cave, which is also slow. However, at least with Phoenix Cave, you can get 2 checks in one area with the dragon and the reward. And of course, as soon as I say that, Drinks Glue makes a beeline right for the Opera House. Oh, man. So maybe he's figured out that the only places his next character can be are either Opera House or Phoenix Cave. He did not peek at Moogle Defense, though. The other option, and I didn't even mention this, because, again, it's out of logic. So there's not a character guaranteed to be down in one of Edgar's checks, either the Figaro Engine Room or the Ancient Castle. Because remember, that's out of logic. So Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide has a logic to it where every seed should be 100% completable. Meaning you should be able to get everything in it. All the characters, all the espers. So there is a logic that will dictate that you can't have a situation where you're out of checks that reward characters when you need more characters. Alright, that's an Illumina for Hefe. It's his 3rd dragon according to the tracker? I thought that was his 4th. This fight is disgusting here on Glue's side, and oh no! It's a travesty! We've got Locke going down from the level 5 Doom spell. Alright, according to Hefe's tracker, he's at 16 checks and 3 dragons. But I'm pretty sure he's done 4. Let's see, Opera House, Narsh, and where else was another dragon? Mount Zozo? Okay, so maybe we have done only 4. Or we have done only 3, rather. That's an expensive to Zen Thief there. No matter, we are going to sell some stuff in order to get it. Meanwhile, Glue getting some really nasty forced encounters here at the Opera House Disruption. You get the Dweller Sky Bases and the Landworms. He thankfully survives that level 5 doom, and that is Madeline there for Hefe, who now has 17 checks as well. Yeah, I don't know if we're going to see Phoenix Cave here. Although we might run out of checks by the time we get to 20. The thing is, there are so many, like, Tier 1 type checks, because there's so many dragons that you can go fight. Like, the dragon at Fanatic's Tower is available to you. The dragons in Kefka's Tower are available. Atma's available. So we may not necessarily see a fifth character here. And here is Flame Eater for Drinks Glue. Alright, and it looks like Hefe's going into the tower. Again, there is not going to be a character here in KT. This looks like this will simply be for killing Atma, killing the dragon, and then we would need one more check for Skip. Alright, and that's check number 18 for Drinks Glue, and let's see if we got our fancy gal at the opera. We do not. So, Magitech 3 or Phoenix Cave is the answer for where our character will be. Andrew oh, that's a Pearl Lance reward for that? Yick. Andrew pointing out that he is out of Warp Stones. So, even though you're out of Warp Stones, you still can pull on some of the ropes that come down for the first and second party in order to get out of there rather quickly. Yeah, so in party number 2, there is Atma Weapon Spot, which is right here. Or Atma Spot, rather. Then there is the dragon that's over here, normally the Skull Dragon. And then on party number 3's side, there is Inferno and a dragon. So I don't know why you would fight Inferno and the dragon if you want to go for Skip anyway. The point of Skip is so that you don't have to fight Inferno and you don't have to do all that walking. So for me, this would be, let's kill Atma and the dragon, and let's take one more check somewhere else. For Skip. Trying to think of what he has left that's really fast. There is the Lone Wolf Moogle Mines that he could go do. Yeah, other than that, there aren't really a lot of fast checks left. Alright. Boss fight's taking a little bit longer with only 2 party members instead of 4. So I think we're going to see the same thing here with Drinks Glue, except Drinks Glue's characters are at much higher levels. There's the Unlock Kefka objective complete. Now, I think both of them are going for the skip. They're just doing it inside of Kefka's Tower, because for them, their other options are longer checks that are much slower. For Drinks Glue, I think he's staring at Phoenix Cave as basically the only options left for him. Alright, and it looks like I might be wrong. It looks like Hefe is going to go for Inferno and then this dragon, and then go for his skip that way. I personally wouldn't have done it this way, but maybe he's trying to spread around the experience to more party members, because he's His levels are the low 30s, whereas Drinks Glue's characters have levels that are in the 40s. And here's a pretty rough boss at the spot. We do have Merton, however. And it looks like Glue just walked right past Toilet Atma. Okay, so I don't know what these runners are doing here. And maybe he just realized it too. Nope. He's going to continue on. So that other pipe on the right there on that other screen, that pipe leads you back to Atma if you wanted to go that way. Merton was the case that they gave me. Snoop Dogg's Other song. I didn't know Snoop was such a big fan of Final Fantasy VI. Yeah, so here's part of the problem with having only 4 characters for Kefka's Tower. And oh! Guardian slaps Celeste in the face and says, "Not today." Yeah, so that Grand Train, had there been multiple party members, would have split that damage from 4,000 on one to 2,000 across everybody. Yeah, so since Grand Train is non-elemental and it's defense ignoring, the Paladin Shield unfortunately doesn't help you with it. So when I said that your characters are virtually invincible, there's the virtual part of it. So what Hefe can do here is he can use Sword Tech 5, which looks like is exactly what he's using. So Sword Tech 5 is called Empowerer, and it will absorb some HP and MP from whatever target it's going against. So there you see he gets no health because he's not missing any health, but he is missing some MP. So he is going to get his MP back enough to continue casting Merton. Smart heads-up play there from Hefe. Drinks Glue getting past that fight a lot faster with the Atma weapon offering. Which is a setup that I think Hefe could do if he wanted to. Yeah, honestly, spells like Haste gets a little bit more usage because it counters the slow status, and it will help you in fights like Tentacles, and it helps for jumpers. But slow doesn't get very much usage in Worlds Collide. There's no point. Instead of slowing a boss down, I could be killing it, you know? Yeah, Drinks Glue also did checks with more bosses here. So for reference, Drinks Glue did Lone Wolf, Marsh Weapon Shop, South Figaro Prisoner, Gal Manor, so that's 4. To Zen Thief, that's 5. So he did 5 checks that were encounters. Meanwhile, Hefe did Marsh Weapon Shop, Lone Wolf, Gal Manor, South Figaro Prisoner, to Zen Thief. Okay, so yeah, that is also 5. So both of them did 5 checks apiece. Did 5 dead checks apiece, and the same 5. Uh-oh. Oh. Drinks Glue passing the level check there. And Hefe struggling a little bit with this single person in KT at the Guardian spot. Yeah, so Guardian, for those that don't know, we'll do Dataluma's battle script, and Dataluma's battle script will throw things at people, and that's not fun. Normally, he's never live long enough to do that, but if you've ever fought Dataluma, with an underpowered team, then that's what happens. Meanwhile, we got Doomgaze here at the Inferno spot. I'm sorry, at the Guardian spot, which is just awful. Hefe decides to wise up and say, I'm going to go for skip so I don't have to fight that Guardian. So he's going to take out that dragon for his 19th check. Now he's got to get out of the tower somehow. With no access to a warp stone, he has to wait for a switch. Which means he's got to walk all the way back with Mog. Oh, Mog has access to the warp spell. We get a third offering from that dragon. We do not need that one. And unfortunately, Mog is not able to reap the XP rewards from this fight here on Drinks Glue's side. Because he did. Alright, Hefe heading over to Fnatic's tower. This is a dragon that you could fight. Unfortunately, you can only use magic in Fnatic's tower, so he'll have to alter his battle plan for how he wants to kill this dragon. Fnatic's tower is a great place in seeds like this, where you need checks in order to unlock Kefka, because it's actually 3 checks in one. You have the dragon in here, you have the high tier item at the top, and then you have the reward at the bottom. So you could go do this entire tower and get 2 checks out of it. And if you come back with Strago, you just literally walk to the bottom and you get the reward for the 3rd check. Meanwhile, Atma Weapon, what Drinks Glue has been using all game, shows up to say hi, but on the other side this time. I thought it was a ghost, but if it is Yeti, we can't get it anyway. So Skull Dragon is the dragon here, weak to fire and pearl. So here comes some fire. Will absorb poison. That's why it's green after all. And Glue here is going to have to 1v1 this Atma Weapon. Has access to Sword Tech 7. Doing about 8,000 a turn, and oh no, Fallen 1 on a poison character. Can he get the turn off in time? No, he cannot! F's in the chat for Celeste. That is awful. I'm hoping he saved recently. So that is elemental ability scaling, which is one of the things that Worlds Collide has, where you cast spells based on the level of the boss. And since Atma casts Flare in the vanilla game, that turns into, you know, some other powerful non-elemental spell in Worlds Collide. Fallen 1 happens to be one of those powerful non-elemental spells that it could turn into. Meanwhile, Hefe getting his 20th check, so he's got skip. So he can head right to the spot where Drinks Glue is now, and can try and defeat some bosses, including Blink and You Miss It Tunnel Armor there for Locke's middle spot. So Locke is doing, what is that, 24,000 damage a turn? So he will be able to cut through the Meteo phase pretty fast. It is a ghost there at the bottom of Fnatic's tower. Oh, and look at what it is. Some vanilla hot wings. Yuck. That's another reset. This tower is not playing. So we've had Guardian and Inferno. We have had Atma Weapon at one of the other spots. We've had Doomgaze at the Guardian spot, and now we've had a vanilla Poltergeist. So the problem with Genji Glove Atma is that you don't have a shield, and with the Atma Weapon, you really need a shield. Because if you don't have a shield, your damage will go down rather rapidly. So this is basically going to just be a DPS race. Is Locke doing... Oh, geez. That's what? 30,000 right there with that one turn. And thankfully he did not get stopped this time. Like a freight train coming your way, Poltergeist. There it goes. Another boss down. Tunnel armor, meanwhile, down for Hefe as well. Yeah, so a ribbon will not prevent the stop status. Ribbon will prevent other types of statuses that carry over from battle to battle, like poison or dark or imp. But it does not prevent in-battle statuses like stop or sleep or sap. I'm pretty sure that's right. Somebody smarter than me will correct me if that is not right. Running shoes does not also prevent stop either. Running shoes prevents slow, but not stop. And again, that might also be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that that's right. Alright, let's see what Hefe decides to do against the spicy chicken here. Alright, so Hefe has access to Sortech 6 in this party. And Sortech 6 will actually cast Stop on the enemy that you're trying to go against. So Hefe smartly knows that Spicy Chicken is susceptible to Stop, so he uses Sortech 6, and oh my god, there's an ultimate. Whew! That's awful. But thankfully Celeste absorbs that like a ShamWow. But cannot face off against the Flare Star. Ugh. Alright, so Glue is running into Atma again, and as Dr. GT points out in the chat, only 41 MP on Celeste means that those Ultima swings will not actually do double damage with criticals, because he does not have enough MP to do that that part of the gimmick of the Illumina. And it looks like he's going to do Illumina Paladin Shield this time. So that this way he doesn't get one hit by, you know, any different elemental spell here. And after all this, it's come down to who can beat Atma first. But remember, Hefe still has Doomgaze to fight. All right. Atma weapon, casting lump. Thankfully, does not do that much damage. Celeste is definitely cranking out more damage than Mog is here for Drinks Glue. And using the Illumina as a stat stick here with Sortech 7, and oh no, Mog goes down. So both runners having trouble with this boss here. So what you can do is you can do the sleeping bag glitch for the save point. If you switch to a party on a save point, you can use tents or sleeping bags to top up your character's vitals if need be. Alright, so Celeste and Drinks Glue takes down their final boss. They have 0 MP, so let's fill that up. There you go. Meanwhile, Hefe's Mog is back at it again, this time with a Paladin Shield. Doing around 6,800, 7,000 damage a turn. So this will take a couple turns, and hopefully he can survive whatever crazy spells that Atma weapon decides to throw out, including Landslide, which is non-elemental. So unfortunately, that means that we're going to be with the short Atma stick. Still doing almost 4,000 damage a turn, though. Quake, thankfully, not a problem, because Mog has got that Paladin shield on. Would probably have wanted it to be one of the elements that the Paladin shield absorbs to get that HP back up for that Atma weapon. Mog just shrugging off that full-powered attack. Thank you very much, the Snow Muffler. All right, as Andrew points out in the chat, it is time to guess how long this final fight will last from the start of it until the very end of it. So get your guesses in chat. 1112 is the guess here. His levels are so high. I'm going to go with 9 minutes and 3 seconds. All right, as soon as we get to the next screen. 1:14:51 is the first time. So get your guesses in chat, and we'll probably stop them at the end of Tier 1, just for the sake of being nice there. So, lots of different parts to Final Kefka, 4 tiers to be exact. The first tier here is mostly physical offense. Likes to troll with some R polarity there. The long arm there is susceptible to either Petrify or Instant Death, so that's why we got Break or we got Doom. So that takes care of that part of the fight. The head will counter with Quake if left alive at the end of the fight, so we want to take care of that part next. Is weak to fire. That big balled up fist is actually weak to water, so that's why that water edge did significantly more damage to the fist than the face. Alright, so Hefe's got one party on the switches. It looks like he's going to be swapping around some of his stuff here. And he is level 39. Uh-oh. If he goes over to level 40, we know what is waiting for him at the end of this. By the way, it's a 1 minute and 30 second or so. Tier 1. I told you, Glue's offense is ridiculous right now. So Tier 2 has 4 different parts: the tiger, the blue guy, the guy with the blonde hair pointing to the other side, and then the tools underneath the shroud. The tools is susceptible to instant death, so we'll get that Doom out. The magic guy is susceptible to being muted, which is hilarious because magic can only cast magic spells. So it basically makes him a non-factor. I don't know if we have access to mute here. The tiger casts different status ailment spells like End Cross to freeze your party and Doom Tusk to turn your party into a zombie. And then Hit will death counter with 10 hits, and it looks like Hefe's just yeeting Pearl Lances at the problem. And since Doomgaze is weak to Pearl, that is a definitely viable strategy, picking out some quad 9s here. Doomgaze is very high physical and magical defense, so in this instance, I agree with him using Throw over using the Illuminas, because if the Illumina procs, it might be a different story, but Throw will always ignore the physical defense of the person that it's attacking. Dodging a couple of Dooms there is very important. All right, that's 10 hits dead for Drinks Glue, and that is Doomgaze down for Hefe as well. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we have access to any mute because that is magic casting things. And Locke doing almost 37,000 damage a turn? Dear Lord. So that is a 2-minute Tier 2. So that's 3 minutes and 30 seconds that Glue has been on the first 2 tiers here. So very fast so far. As I mentioned, he's got very high levels and he's got a lot of power behind his team. Tier 3 offers a bit of a challenge because Girl at the top will heal and revive the party. Absorbs all elements, so we're going to have to beat it with a stick in order to kill it. So you're going to see some throw come out. The other guy will do a instant death physical special upon death called Calmness, and I don't think we have anything to really mitigate that in our party right now. We'll also start counterattacking when he is under 30,000 HP with Medio, and Galoo is just going to throw the Ragnarok at the problem. That's one way to do it. Listen, boys and girls, you can't take any of this gear with you. You might as well use it on this final fight. Yeah, Locke just punishing damage there. Here comes a Calmness, swing and a miss on Shadow. That is a 1 minute and like 15 second tier 3. So Glue started this fight at 1:14:51. So he's 5 minutes in and he's already up to final Kefka. So even my time of 9 minutes seems a bit conservative here. Normally it takes around 10 minutes for the final fight. But Locke is just cranking out so much damage. Meanwhile, Hathé on tier 1, and things could still go bad for Drinks Glue. It's not over yet, folks. Casual 35,000 damage on turn 1 will put him out of fall in one phase, and here comes a charge up for Goner, and one more attack from Locke is basically all it's going to take to do it. Time is on the first crack right then and there. Get your GGs in the chat for Drinks Glue. That is 1:20:59. So that is a stupidly fast 6 minutes and 8 seconds for final Kefka. And we are joined by Drinks Glue, the winner of the race. Congratulations on that incredibly fast Kefka fight. 6 minutes and 8 seconds, a full 3 minutes under my projected time of 9 minutes and 3 seconds. Your lock was pretty beefy there at the end.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Where were the characters?
So the characters were either at Magitech 3 or Phoenix Cave. We don't really know.
Oh, so Hathé found 2 characters at least. Good for him.
Yeah. So we, everybody found the 4th character right away, basically, right at the South Figueroa prisoner spot. That is where our 4th character was, and then we didn't find anybody for the rest of the seed. So the only places it was guaranteed to be was either Phoenix Cave or Magitech 3. And you already noped out of Magitech, so you definitely weren't going back there. We could sequence break into Edgar's stuff, but you're not guaranteed to have a character down there because that's out of logic. So I don't know, if you're bored and want to go to Phoenix Cave, you could certainly show us where our progression was. But I wanted Fancy Gao at the Opera House. Unfortunately, he was not there.
Oh, I almost missed the MOG because I walked past it and I debated almost not going back to it. And I was like,
I thought you just didn't want to increase the scaling so high right away.
No, I'm an idiot.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. Even you, yes, you, the idiot, can restream. So talk to us a little bit about your strategy here with this seed. We had some interesting options with 18 checks for unlocking Kefka. We had some small characters, 100% random chests, and random commands. So we got 2 throw characters, which certainly made the early game a little bit trivial.
Well, when I got the 2 throw characters, I was like, you know what, this is all I need. And then I happened to find an Atma weapon on offering, and this is all I will need later. So let's get cooking. So I did have some ideas. I had
Mhm.
planned all along to at some point to jump to the World of Ruin and do the dragons on the left side of the map, Mount Zozo, the Opera House Dragon, and then go to
Ooh.
Narsh. And then I had a plan to go into Kekpa's Tower and
Uh-oh.
do the two dragons in the toilet Atma spot.
Hmm.
But my problem was I was hoping at some point to have more characters, so I
Yeah.
didn't
Oh
want to
yeah.
have to. And two,
Ooh,
I didn't have any
this
more warp stones, so I kind of threw a wrench in my plans. So that's why I just panicked and went to Opera House just because I didn't really know where to go.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was like, this is the closest thing.
The principle of least astonishment. Meanwhile, Hefe here, Locke is getting stoned on the job. Thankfully, he's got life too for the other two characters, so hopefully he can make a bit of a recovery here. So yeah, you guys pretty much did the same checks, even all the way through the floating continent for both of you, and then the divergence happened when you went to Magitech Factory, and Hefe went to do the World of Balance Narsh into the World of Ruin Narsh sort of stuff there. So, can you tell me a little bit about your decision to go up to Floating Continent? Were you looking for characters maybe, or were you looking for levels, or both?
Um, it at no point in time was I worried about anything killing me. Once I found Locke, I was sitting on the Ragnarok and two throw characters. It was just what's fastest.
Yeah.
So I
Well, you could have gone into the Mogul Mines. That was something that both of you could have done. That counts as a check.
I didn't because I had ran out of warp stones and
Oh, that's right. Yes, yes, yes.
because I had found the I had got 3 from 3 random encounters somewhere. I just don't
Yep.
remember where.
Yeah.
Um,
Haydn drops 1, so that's 1, and then I don't know where the other 2 would have been. I know that Hefe bought them in the shop somewhere, so.
yeah. I also at some point wanted to start looking for earrings, but I got so strong as like this. None of this matters. Mog can sit there and watch. Shadow can
I mean,
help out sporadically.
he could also equip an Atma weapon too. So if you wanted
Yeah.
to go that route, Hefe's Mog is basically he's not putting out as much damage as your Locke, but he's also like invincible with a snow muffler and a paladin shield. Like,
Oh yeah. I wish I had kept the snow muffler if I had a little more inside information, but oh well. I'm doing the Phoenix Cave right now, by the way. I'm just
yeah, I
curious.
see it. Thank you so much.
I've never seen that before.
You gotta
where
you gotta put a Moogle charm on there.
you don't find a where you go through the whole
Uh-oh.
siege and you do it with just 4 characters.
Uh-oh, run, Mog, run. There we go. Hefe, meanwhile, finally getting out of Tier 2. That was god-awful for him. So he, I think, is about 6.5 minutes into his final Kefka fight at the moment. So you just basically took it down in a blaze of glory. Talk to us a little bit about your Kefka's Tower. There was a bunch of bosses in there that were pretty annoying. Guardian, Doomgaze, Atma Weapon, Spicy Chicken. Basically a worst nightmare scenario for a party of 1.
Yeah, my plan was just get Mog and Shadow so they get to the point where they could do like 3,000 damage each.
Uh-huh.
And then they could tag team one side. Locke was just going to steamroll anything. He just happened to get stopped before he could kill Poltergeist. And then I was not expecting to die to Poison Fall 1, but it happens.
Listen, hey, in Worlds Collide, there are new ways to die every single day. So, yeah, so Hoodat checking in. It's been a while. Welcome, Hoodat. So Drinks Glue died to a fallen one into poison damage, so that's always fun. That's a fun way to die.
A great way to die.
Stop Blast or Spicy Chicken was always fun. Did you have problems with Guardian? I think that was Hefe.
Oh no, Guardian went down in 2 turns, just like Spicy Chicken, but
yeah,
he doesn't have a way to instant kill you.
Yeah, so Guardian gave Hefe some problems. He actually warped out of the tower and got 2 more checks to do skip and then came back in.
Yeah, I thought about that too, because then I was out of warp stones.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You're gonna have to wait for the swing and
so
roll.
it was just muscle through it. Oh my God,
so no calmness protection, right? So that was a bit worrisome, but you had so much damage that even if you lost 2, you were just hoping it wasn't going to be Locke, correct?
Yeah. I forgot to get the lock, so we don't know what's at Phoenix Cave. So let me go get the lock.
Oh my God.
My
Well,
apologies, ladies and gentlemen.
That's okay. Yeah, using a Valiant Knife after Fallen One is great until you proc an Ultima. So you basically finished off Kefka in 2 turns because your lock was doing 35 a turn, right? So that was pretty easy for you there. Hefe, meanwhile, on the ropes like a prize fighter, Shadow and Mog going down. So in these situations, what you want to do is heal the boss to get him out of this medio phase. Yeah, walk over to the rocks. You know how to do this, don't you?
I know. I have
Oh, the stream is 30 seconds behind. I forgot. Anyway, oh, this was an old save. I understand now. All right, Hefe is leaving Shadow behind, just like on the floating continent, to head up to Final Kafka. So you decided not to YMPC the boss at the end of the floating continent, and you made, I think, sparing use of YNPC throughout most of your run. Were you trying to stay in logic for as long as possible? Did you want more levels? Is that why you wanted to take that last boss at Floating Continent? Did you not know that you could do that?
No, I knew you could do that,
Okay.
but I just I wasn't opposed to getting the extra levels.
Yeah.
I wasn't afraid of anything. If you're afraid of anything at that point in time, if you're a little iffy, then that's entirely plausible. I was actually hoping at some point to run across more dead checks, just so it wouldn't push the scaling up than what I had. Because it wouldn't matter because you just needed checks, you didn't need espers or characters. Right. But I think I only came across 2.
Yeah, there weren't a lot. I mean, you also did a bunch of dragons too, which technically count as checks, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's part of the interesting part of this flag set is that by having number of checks unlocking Kefka, it allows for some more interesting gameplay, right? Where you could say, oh, I'm just going to take a bunch of dragons because they count as checks. Or, I mean, Phoenix Cave would count as 2 checks if you wanted to do both the whole thing and the dragon, right? So it becomes more enticing. It's just an interesting difference here to play. So
that was in my realm of thought too. I just, again, never found that 5th character, and I would have been fine to come in here with just Lock and let Lock wipe a dragon. But it is, even with it being 2 checks, Phoenix Cave is still a pretty decent time sink, and it's quicker to do Mount Zozo and get 2 checks done real fast. It's cheap. It's quicker to do Narsh and warp out. It's just a little faster, and then when you do that twice, as opposed to this, you just save about a minute. So, and minutes matter. I knew I was going against Hefe. I know what Hefe can bring to the table. So, I just had an internal clock going on that just let me know that I had to go fast at all times, just because I knew what Hefe could do.
Yeah, you guys, like I said, were pretty in lockstep throughout the first, I don't know, like 25, 30 minutes of the seed, you know, with all the stuff that you guys did. And I think Hefe dragged behind a little bit when he got into Kefka's Tower first, actually. But that Guardian really, I think, drew the line in the sand. And you persevered through the points that you had trouble with in order to not give him back so much time. 1:32:14 is the final time for Hefe. So get your GGs for Hefe in chat. I'll post his link because Nightbot is being a jerk. So yes, of course, go give him a follow. GG, well played, all that. So yeah, we'll see what's at the end of the Phoenix Cave. Any other thoughts on the race or any fun that you're deciding to have tonight?
No, if this is your first time watching Worlds Collide, we'll get the Discord in the chat for you, but come join our community. It's a great community. People like the Schwantz and Hefe are happy to have you, and they'll introduce yourselves when you join. There's people eager to help you out how to learn, how to get started. Myself, I am the newly appointed leader of the Narsh Battle Academy. So if you join, you at me. I will do my best to get you up and running and taking on seeds like a champion. So come on in. The water's warm. We'd love to have you.
All right, there it is. GP Reigns Sabin throwing money at the problem at the end of the Phoenix Cave. So that is our 5th character, and that's where the seed probably starts to open up a bit there. So thank you for showing us that. And again, Drinks Glue, thank you for wanting to. Well, first of all, you signed up for commentary, and then when we didn't have enough racers, you're like, "Let me in, put me in, coach. I'm ready to play."
Put me in, coach.
So thank you so much for being flexible with that, for wanting to help out with the broadcast in any way possible. So really appreciate that. Can't have the races without the runners. So also thank you so much, Hefe, for being a part of the race and for agreeing to volunteer to be on stream. So any other final words, Glue, before we get the heck out of here?
No, thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate you watching.
Awesome. So we just have a few things to chat about. We will be next week. I'm also going to schedule us for a Tuesday session because my softball game that was supposed to be tomorrow night got canceled because it's been raining here in New York for the past forever, and so we're having it next Wednesday. So next Tuesday on one of the Speed Gaming channels, we'll do another Speed Gaming race. Also, we just finished up the Battlegrounds event, and the Ultros League event will be coming soon. Season 5 of Ultros League. I'm hearing through the rumblings that it will probably be towards the end of October. We're testing out a couple of new, maybe perhaps changes to the Ultros League settings that will make Ultros League better than ever. We do have a new version of Worlds Collide coming out fairly soon. It is in open development. It is an open source sort of project. I have contributed one fix to it, so I'm going to give myself a little pat on the back there. But we do have some cool new features and quality of life improvements. Those of you that saw people walking around with the poison screen today from both Drinks Glue and Hefe, there might be something in your future that gets rid of that sort of thing. So that's going to be really exciting. I haven't actually even looked at what it looks like, but we're porting that mod over from Beyond Chaos, which is another randomizer, which is pretty awesome. And so we got Ultros League coming up soon. We'll have our Speed Gaming slot next Tuesday. And I think that's it. You got any other announcements, Glue?
I am super excited for Ultros Leagues. If you haven't signed up, or if you're interested in sign up, just join on Discord. You'll see the announcements coming. Don't feel discouraged if you think there's a learning curve. If you've played vanilla Final Fantasy VI at any point in time, you will pick up Worlds Collide in no time. Don't let any type of learning curve discourage you. I've only been playing for about 5 months, and I picked it up pretty fast, and I think you can too.
Yeah, and the thing about Worlds Collide is obviously we do races here when we do broadcasts, but you could play the game however you'd want to play the game. There's so many different customizable options for you to choose from. Again, link to the Discord is in the chat as well. So I think that is going to do it for us here. So thank you again to Speed Gaming for hosting us. Thank you, Drinks Glue and Hefe, for putting on the show. It was a really fun race, and these are really interesting flags that make you think slightly differently about how you want to go and approach the seeds. So thanks for running again, and we will catch everybody on the next time. Peace out. See you later.